I was delighted to be able to bring in three great scientists into the Ogilvy PR session at the Holmes Global PR Summit. Now, the first one was Jason Reifler. Jason comes from Georgia State University, and he is an expert at something called confirmation bias, sometimes called motivated reasoning. And basically what this means is that humans, when they deeply believe something, when they are shown evidence they are wrong, they don't easily change their minds. In fact, going back to Charles Lord's research in 1979, not only do they not change their minds, they go farther the direction they started in. So if you believe something, whether it's a political belief or something that purportedly is a fact, this is what we see tremendously in an election period where so-called facts are no longer facts at all. That people will fight over what is true, what is false, what is trumped up, what's a right poll, what's a wrong poll. And so Jason Reifler took us through the science of this in human beings, and he came across a couple of interesting things in his research. Number one, that when you're trying to change somebody's mind, you have to remember that it's about self-identity. It's not just academic and it's not just intellectual, because people identify themselves with that position they hold. And therefore, if you attack that position, you're attacking that person. And so the first thing he found was that if you're able to start not by attacking the position, but by giving a compliment to the person about how well they've thought this through, how smart they are on this, what they do great, and then come at the position, you have more success going at it that way and changing somebody's mind. Now, the other thing that he discovered was that graphics work far better than text or oral. That if you're able to show somebody a graphic for some reason, and Jason Reifler and his team are not sure why, for some reason graphics work better to persuade people and change people's minds. So that was scientist number one. Scientist number two was Raymond Mar out of York University in Canada. And Raymond's a specialist in the impact of fiction on the brain. He's done an enormous amount of research on this. You may have seen it in a New York Times article called Your Brain on Fiction. And what he's discovered is that the brain works like a simulator, and that fiction is almost like a flight simulator for the brain. That when you read stories, you're able to try things in your brain very realistically. It's almost a whole part of evolution called literary Darwinism. So the power for us as communicators that Raymond Mar has discovered is that story works, expository does not work. So in other words, bullet points will get you nowhere, but a story will get you everywhere. Now the third one, our scientist named Yuri Hasson, came on via phone because of the tremendous damage from Hurricane Sandy, and he was trapped without power and phoned in anyway. And what Yuri's an expert in out of Princeton University is called neural coupling. And there's a picture of it right over my shoulder. We equated this to Spock and Vulcan mind meld in Star Trek. And it's not too far off, because what Yuri has discovered by putting a storyteller in a scanner, brain scanner, and a story listener in a brain scanner, without them knowing each other or seeing each other, is that their brain patterns start mirroring each other identically as a story gets better and you get more hooked on that story. So it is more than just your attention. Your brain, out of total roots of empathy and biology in the human brain, your brain will start mirroring a great storyteller in terms of what Raymond Mar found of fiction actually acting as a simulator within your brain. A very powerful thing. So the three of them all together were a tremendous panel on how we might be more effective communicators, changing people's minds, getting their brains to light up with our story, and ultimately getting them on the same wavelength.